Imagine driving down a lonely country road at nearly 2 in the morning. The fog is thick, your phone shows no signal, and the only sound you hear is the hum of your car engine echoing through the empty night. For most people, that drive would be unsettling. But for 26-year-old Ethan Cole, it was supposed to be nothing more than a short trip home. One that he would never complete. What happened to Ethan that night has haunted his friends, family, and even local investigators for years. There were no signs of a struggle, no witnesses, and the few pieces of evidence that were found only deepened the mystery. This is the story of the disappearance of Ethan Cole. A mystery that still has no ending. Ethan lived in a small town in northern Minnesota, known for its quiet streets, frozen winters, and miles of farmland stretching in every direction. He worked as a mechanic, loved hiking, and was described by everyone as calm, reliable, and friendly. On the night of May 17th, Ethan had attended a small get-together at a friend's farmhouse just outside of town. Nothing unusual. He wasn't drinking heavily. He wasn't upset. By all accounts, it was a normal evening. Around 12:45 a.m., he said goodbye, got into his silver Honda Civic, and started driving home. The trip should have taken no more than 30 minutes, but somewhere along those empty country roads, something went wrong. At 1:18 a.m., Ethan called his best friend Ryan, telling him he had missed a turn and driven into a ditch. Ryan, concerned, "Are you okay?" Short pause. "Do you need help?" Ethan, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just need a ride. My phone's not getting a signal, but I can see a few lights in the distance." Ryan offered to come get him and asked Ethan to share his location, but Ethan said his GPS wasn't loading. He promised to stay by the car's hazard lights until Ryan arrived. That was the last confirmed phone call Ethan ever made. By the time Ryan reached the area, there was no sign of Ethan or his car. He called Ethan again, several times. Each call rang through, but no one picked up. After 40 minutes, Ryan assumed maybe Ethan had managed to get a ride home with someone else. He turned around and drove back. The next morning, Ethan's parents reported him missing. When the sun rose the next morning, search efforts began immediately. Ethan's parents, his best friend Ryan, and a few neighbors started driving up and down the back roads near where Ethan was last heard from. By mid-morning, police had joined the search. It didn't take them long to find something strange. Around 8:30 a.m., a county sheriff spotted a silver Honda Civic, Ethan's car, parked neatly off a gravel road about 25 miles away from where Ryan had been searching the night before. The car wasn't wrecked. It wasn't stuck. The keys were still in the ignition. The driver's door was closed, and Ethan's wallet and phone charger were both inside. But there was no Ethan. Investigators noted that the ground around the car showed only one set of footprints leading away from it, straight into a field of tall grass, and then into a wooded area beyond. There were no signs of a struggle. No second set of prints, no tire marks from another vehicle. It looked as if Ethan had calmly gotten out of his car and started walking into the darkness. But where and why? Over the next 48 hours, more than 50 volunteers joined law enforcement in combing through the area. Drones were deployed. Canine units were brought in. For a brief moment, search dogs picked up Ethan's scent, heading into the woods, toward a shallow creek. The scent stopped abruptly near the water's edge. Beyond that point, nothing. Divers searched the creek for 2 full days. No clothing, no phone, no body. It was as if Ethan had simply vanished. Then came a new clue: Ethan's cell phone records. According to the data, his phone had pinged a tower 6 miles north of where the car was found, nearly an hour after the last call to Ryan. That meant someone, maybe Ethan, had moved from the car to another area entirely. But how? On foot, that distance should have taken over 2 hours to cover in the dark. Investigators were baffled. Some began to suspect that Ethan had accepted a ride from a stranger after leaving his car. Others believed he may have been disoriented, wandering through the night before collapsing somewhere in the woods. But searches of that northern area also turned up nothing. Meanwhile, Ethan's family refused to give up. His mother described him as too careful, too rational to just wander off. His father told reporters, "If something happened to my son, it wasn't by choice." Weeks passed, then months. No new leads, no confirmed sightings, only unanswered questions. Within weeks of Ethan's disappearance, the case spread beyond his small town. True crime forums began to pick up the story. Reddit threads filled with maps, theories, and possible routes Ethan might have taken that night. Some users even visited the area themselves, trying to retrace his last known steps. But the more people looked, the stranger the story became. The first theory was simple. Ethan got lost. Rural Minnesota roads can be confusing. Miles of identical gravel paths, no streetlights, and GPS signals that cut out constantly. Maybe he'd mistaken one turn for another, ended up miles from where he thought he was, and tried to walk toward lights he saw in the distance. If that was true, though, why didn't searchers find anything? Not even a shoe, a jacket, or his phone. And how could his phone ping 6 miles away if it never left his possession? Another theory suggested that Ethan might have accepted a ride from someone passing by, perhaps someone he knew. Maybe he thought they could take him home. But if that's the case, who was driving around those back roads at 2 a.m.? And why did Ethan's phone keep pinging long after that? Investigators checked traffic cameras and nearby gas stations. There were no matching vehicles seen that night. Then came a darker idea. What if Ethan had wanted to disappear? Maybe he'd been hiding stress, debts, or something personal from his family and friends. But his bank account was untouched. No travel records. No digital footprint suggesting he'd planned to start over. The theory collapsed quickly. Ethan simply didn't fit that profile. The final theory, and the one that's never fully gone away, is that something else happened that night. Something that doesn't fit a normal explanation. Locals claimed to see strange lights in the sky that same weekend. Others talked about the Northern Woods, a stretch of forest known for odd sounds and missing pets. Police dismissed those rumors, but online communities kept them alive. Whatever happened after 1:18 a.m., the truth seemed to vanish with Ethan. 6 months after his disappearance, winter came. Snow covered the fields where volunteers had once searched. His parents kept his room exactly as he'd left it, his jacket still hanging on the chair, his phone charger coiled on the desk. Every few weeks, someone would claim they saw a man resembling Ethan at a rest stop or gas station in another state. None of those sightings were ever confirmed. Eventually, the official investigation slowed down, but for the people who knew Ethan, it never ended. His mother told a local reporter, Until we know what happened, we'll keep looking, even if it takes the rest of our lives. Today, years later, Ethan Cole's disappearance remains one of the most puzzling cases in Minnesota's history. His car still sits in a police impound lot, a silent reminder of a night that makes no sense. No trace of him has ever been found, not a footprint, not a clue, not a single confirmed lead. So what happened to Ethan Cole? Did he wander into the woods and meet a tragic fate that searchers somehow missed? Did he encounter someone or something that changed the course of his life forever? Or is Ethan out there somewhere, alive, watching the story unfold from a distance? Maybe we'll never know. But one thing's certain. On that foggy road, somewhere between the ditch, the woods, and the night, Ethan Cole disappeared and never came back. If this story caught your attention, don't forget to leave a like. It really helps me bring you more mysterious stories. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next unsolved case. I'll see you in the next episode of The Strangest Unsolved Cases. Until then, keep your lights on. So.